Life begins at 40, or is it the beginning of the end? Today I am going to talk about the reality of hitting the 5th decade of your life. And towards the end of this video, I'm going to discuss some of the things that affect you that you may not have heard people talk about much before. Ever feel like your body has been aging in fast forward ever since that milestone birthday? One day you're just cruising along, having a great time, then all of a sudden, hangovers knock you out, sleep becomes a struggle, and you find yourself with random aches and pains that weren't there maybe last week. What if I told you you weren't imagining it and that there was hard science behind why this is happening? Scientists at Stanford University have just recently discovered that our bodies undertake two major age accelerations, one at the age of 44 and one at the age of 60, where our molecules and microorganisms change rapidly. We have hundreds of different molecules in our body, and these shifts aren't just about getting older. They are linked to health risks like heart disease, metabolic, and many more issues. They discovered that around the age of 44, 81% of our molecules start changing and acting very differently. Everything from protein levels to gene activity changes. Suddenly our liver is less proficient at processing alcohol and coffee. That's not fair. This is a time in your life when you need it the most, right? Not processing alcohol so well. All of a sudden you might notice that those hangovers that used to last a couple of hours now can last a few days, maybe even a week. And due to melatonin production dropping around the age of 44, you may find that your stress levels increase and that you have more trouble falling asleep and staying asleep, and that your sleep quality plummets almost overnight. The 40s is also a time that you start to notice that injuries take longer to heal, or injuries that you never knew that you had. All of a sudden your knees start to hurt or your back starts to work after a game of sport or a run. Or you might find that metabolism has finally slowed down and those pounds are slowly creeping up and you're finding it harder to keep off weight. Basically, around this age, our body's ability to regenerate drops dramatically, and this is why all of a sudden you're finding those aches and pains there that weren't there before. This is because our collagen levels drop, which affects not only our bones but our skin structure. Those horrible wrinkles start to appear. You may find that those little creaks in your knees that didn't seem to be there 6 months ago is one of the first signs to your collagen starting to reduce. There are quite a few things that happen as well in your 40s, which I will discuss later in the video. The next time our body goes through a major aging shift is around the age of 60. This is when your risks of heart disease increase, blood sugar issues such as diabetes can begin to develop. And this is particularly because our body's ability to process sugar actually changes around the age of 60. Your risk of medical issues also increases because of the way that your body now reacts more negatively to inflammation and oxidative stress. The Stanford study has shown that this is around the time that certain proteins that our body used to process easily tend to start building up in our arteries, and that's when we start to get artery buildup, which is what can lead to strokes, heart disease, and heart attacks. This is the age where looking after your heart health becomes really important. Looking at things like making sure that you're getting your omega-3s and exercising. But if you've just hit your 40s, you've got a few years before you need to worry about all of the issues that are going to hit you at 60. Waking up on your 40th birthday is a huge milestone. Some people think it's a wonderful experience. Other people see it with dread. I remember dreading it. I still find it very difficult to admit my age. I don't like to think about it at all. It's a funny kind of thing. You hit 40 and everything seems different. It's almost like a light switch has just flicked over. You feel different and you see the world different. And as I mentioned, your body starts to act differently. You feel things that you never felt before. And for me, like a lot of people, it is really a milestone in your life where you do start to notice that things are changing. One of the things that you do find that when you hit your 40s is that you do tend to become more at peace with things. The things that used to worry you in the 20s, someone's opinion, blah, 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 seems less important. You don't tend to sweat the small stuff as much as you used to. Though at the same time, this is often one of the busiest times, your 40s and your 50s, because you have a career, often children, sometimes managing older parents, running a household, and you can often feel so busy and so stressed at this point of time that you can feel a little bit overwhelmed. It certainly is a very exhausting time in your life. Another thing that happens when you hit this age is that you tend to start becoming, hopefully, a little bit more forgiving, where once upon a time, a comment or something someone did may have offended you deeply. Now you tend to just brush it off. Honestly, you've lived a life, you've seen plenty of things by now, nothing surprises you anymore. And honestly, you're too busy to give up about the tiny little problems of others. So you tend to just, yes, that's fine, let's just move on. Another thing that I noticed, probably because you tend to have children around this age, a lot of the time your interests do change. All of a sudden, the things that you found fun in your 20s, you may not find as fun in your 40s. One, because you're busy, or two, you need to do different things because you have children, and you all of a sudden need to shift from the nightlife to the day life, which can be quite a big adjustment. Once upon a time, if you're like me, 10 p.m. used to be the time that you got dressed and left the house for a big night out. However, once you've been working all week, raising kids and running around all weekend at sport and God knows what else, often the thought of a pizza and a glass of wine and sitting on the couch binging Netflix actually seems like a pretty nice thing. One thing I find really funny is sometimes people would say to me, "What did you do on the weekend?" And I would say nothing. And they'd go, "Oh, you're so lucky." That is just one of the first shifts to a new life, new interests, and managing such a busy time of your life. For women, this can be a crazy time of your life as well. All of a sudden, you are hearing about and acknowledging symptoms that you'd never thought about before, like hormones and issues with perimenopause, things like hot flushes and irregular periods. You go, whoa, that's me. That's a story for another day. One of the big issues that happens in your 40s is your metabolism does start to slow down and we do start to lose muscle. As you know, muscle actually burns more calories whilst resting. And as we age, our muscles and our metabolism does tend to slow down a little bit. Not as much as we thought, but a little bit. So this is a really important time to really think about including exercise and weight training. You may find that at this time of your life, you put on weight really quickly. You walk past a pizza and all of a sudden your pants feel tighter. This is definitely a time where the mum and dad bods really start to come into play. If you're finding this video beneficial, then smash that like button. Now, coming into a time in your life where you may be a parent or feeling sort of middle-aged or starting to tote a dad bod, you may find this is an interesting time when you decide to go out. Do I dress sexy? Do I look too silly in this? Am I too old for this? It becomes really difficult sometimes to work out what to wear. It's also a time where you are going to find your body doesn't look the way that it used to. The clothes that you used to be able to get away with, you can't get away with anymore. This could be because you popped on a few pounds, or you've been too busy to exercise, or you've had children. It is also a time where you start to notice those fine lines and wrinkles, and you may find that first grey hair, not just up there, but down there too. It can often be really quite difficult accepting the changes in your body and your skin and the way that you look. A lot of people find that when they're in their 40s, they all of a sudden feel invisible. This is often because our society tends to glamorize youthfulness. When you don't look like a 20-year-old model or that fit guy running down the beach in his board shorts, you feel like you don't exist to the world anymore. You don't get the attention that you may have got before. It can feel really different. Another unfortunate issue that you may start finding in your 40s is that you need to start zooming in on things on your phone. You may find that your eyesight is not what it used to be. All those years in front of computers and screens finally starts to catch up with you. I know myself, when I'm in the supermarket now, I sometimes have to take a photo and zoom it in just to read the tiniest little ingredients on the side of a packet. It may be a time that need reading glasses for the very first time. One of the hardest things I think in your 40s is dealing also with the changes in your face and in your skin. Having wrinkles and dry skin becomes a big issue, and I call this the wrinkles and pimples era, where you need moisturizer to keep the wrinkles at bay, but then the moisturizers are so rich they make you break out, and all of a sudden you're borrowing your teenager's acne cream at the same time as you're using your retinol anti-aging serums. It kind of does my head in. Another one of the joys of trying to keep that balancing act up of aging your skin well. Another funny thing that you might find when you reach your 40s is that anyone in their 20s, you start calling them kids. You start thinking of them as children. I don't know why, but it just seems like you start saying that, oh, in my day, we never used to do that. I can't believe they think like that. I'm from Gen X, and it is a world of difference between myself and my Gen Z and Alpha children. Though I do try to keep up with what's going on in the trend so I understand what we're talking about each day. Another thing that you might notice is that you really become obsessed about your time. You worry about how you're going to spend your time and who you're going to spend your time with. It's not like your 20s where you'll just hang out with anybody, even if you don't really like them, like you all hit the bars together and have a great time. But when you get busier, particularly if you have a family and a busy career, you are deciding who is worth your time, which friends are actually benefiting you and which ones are leeching off you, who's worth your time. I honestly can't be bothered or just don't have the time to spend with people that are not making me feel good about myself. That may sound selfish. However, if I've got 10 minutes to myself, I want to be talking to people that make me feel good and contribute to my life. You also find that you won't just tag along to an event because you were invited. You will actually see if you can actually fit that in. Time does become more precious, and you do really think about who and how you're going to spend it. One of the big issues that isn't spoken about a lot at this time of your life is that you can often feel a sense of loss and lack of direction. Often in your 20s, you have a map in your mind about what you're going to do, who you're going to be, how you're going to live. You have so many goals, so many expectations about what your life is going to be and what you're going to do. However, often life gets busy. You throw yourself into a career. You buy a house, which comes with all sorts of extra responsibilities. You may have a family. You may have aging parents. There is so much going on that you tend to feel like it is just Groundhog Day every day, which is how I feel every single day. I feel like I'm always washing the blender. I'm always going grocery shopping. I feel like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. Sometimes I think I've done something that day, but it was actually the day before, because everything seems so the same that I actually thought that I did it. And then I get told, no, you didn't. And I'm like, I'm sure that I did. But anyway, obviously, that was 2 days ago. You often can find that because you're so busy and you become just someone's mom or someone's dad or someone's partner, it can really make you feel lost, that you don't remember who you are. I went through a big part of this when I had my second child at 41. For 10 years, I almost felt like I became nobody. I stopped doing a lot of the things that I loved and a lot of the things that I enjoyed because I was busy. I was working. I was up all night with kids. I was working around the house. I felt like all I did was work. I had no time for friends. I had no time to socialize. If I had any downtime, I would sit on the couch with a glass of wine and probably fall asleep in front of the TV. It wasn't until COVID that I was locked away from everything, and it made me reevaluate some of the things in my life. I became reconnected with friends, particularly through Facebook. I got back into my enjoyment of music. I started this new channel. I do have another channel which is directly made for kids, but this is the first time that I've done something showing my face on camera. So that was a huge, very frightening step for me. But I think what the hardest thing is when you feel lost at this point of time, you feel like you may not have achieved your goals, that you may have felt that you were left behind, that you haven't achieved all the goals that you want, that other people are in a better place than you are. I think the biggest thing that has kept me positive and keeps me on track is that I started walking every day. I got a Fitbit and I try between 8 to 10,000 a day. I find that the walking gives me time, it gives me time away from the house. I can roll over ideas and thoughts in my mind and hopefully solve problems. I can catch up with friends, I can listen to music, all on me time, nobody else. I've also found that having small goals to look forward to helps keep you positive about the future. It may be a long time away, but if it's a goal, then it helps you kick along. I don't think there's anything worse in this world than having nothing to look forward to. And at this busy time in life, I think it is important to even have the smallest goal every day or every month or once a year. There are some positives to being this age, being that, the wisdom of a life and experiences does help you make better choices. Well, some of the time it is. And there is a sense of easing into the middle of your life, not worrying about the things that you used to worry about before, and starting to really understand who you are and what you might want. The hardest thing is finding the time and the energy to do that. But overall, knowing that these things are going to happen and that you are completely normal and it is happening to everybody else, and understanding that there are shifts in your mindset and in your body and in your health, then you can actually take proactive and positive steps to increase your health, to improve your mindset, to spend time with the right people, take up hobbies and goals which are going to make you overall happy. Aging for all of us is inevitable, but it's about how you approach it that is going to make all of the difference. I have a video here that you can watch that goes into a little bit more detail about creating habits and making lifestyle changes and how to improve things overall through daily habits. Let me know in the comments how you have found turning 40.